Hi, and welcome to Bold Leadership Stories Show, where we talk about experiences shaping exceptional lives. And today I've got the honor of speaking with Mary O'Dwyer. And Mary is, I call her the Breathe Lady. I've had an opportunity, she's given me an opportunity through a group course or class to experience what she does. And I'm excited to be able to share her with you on the show today. So Mary, tell me about what you've got going on right now. What's interesting in your life?
Well, Happy New Year, Jim. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, it's been, in a good way, a slow start to my year. I really was feeling the pull of that winter energy of just kind of cocooning and hibernating. So I've been letting a lot of things percolate here this year. So don't have, a lot of things are in the works, in the pipeline. They're not even in the pipeline yet, but there's things coming to fruition. That would be the
Okay,
best way
very
of
cool.
describing it. But
Let me
no,
give a little
life.
background of who you are to everybody. So Mary is the founder and owner of Mary's Blue Door.
Oh,
And
you've missed out my update. I rebranded last year. I am now the Breath of New Life.
really, wow, okay. Hot flash news. Da, da, da. We got that exclusive on the show today. So say that again. What's the name?
So I have rebranded to the Breath of New Life. Mary's Blue Door was what I created back in 2017.
Okay.
And I just kind of I grew that with COVID, everything shifted in my business. And so I shifted with it
Uh-huh.
and expanded into this bigger energy, this bigger vision
Okay.
for for what I do. And it has become the breath of new life,
I love
brilliant
that.
today, transformation forever. So
Well, I
yeah.
tell you what, let me finish this. It's like you're devoted, and see if this has changed. You devoted your life to helping people realize and see their true value, uniqueness, and preciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Through your work, you help your clients heal emotional traumas and release limiting beliefs, allowing them to move forward in life with renewed conviction, direction, and purpose. And you're available to speak from your heart. And I know that's good. Knowing you, you're really good at that, at workshops, retreats, and corporate events.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sorry, continue. What was the inspiration for the new name, The Breath of New Life?
Yes, with COVID, everything shifted in our business because nobody wanted to breathe, right? Everyone wanted to wear a mask. Everybody was scared to be in a group. So everything shifted. Our whole business got turned upside down. Everything with the Transformational Breath Foundation got turned upside down. All of our in-person events couldn't happen. And
Mm,
so we had to pivot as an organization. And so we developed this way of doing the work that we do online. And prior to COVID, the vision for that really wasn't there because a big part of the work that I do here at the Breath of New Life and the work that the Transformational Breath Foundation wants to do is to, offer a really safe, supported environment for people to emote and to let go of their old traumas and dramas, as I like to call them. And it seemed
mm.
impossible prior to COVID for how could we create that supported sacred space, safe space without it being in person. And then
Okay.
Zoom, this whole Zoom land, as we call it in our Toastmasters club, we call when people Zoom in now, we call that Zoom land. So with Zoom land, this whole new opportunity became open to us to learn how to create this same sacred, safe, supported space for people,
Mm,
understanding that, people have been doing distant energy healing for years. We do it through prayer. We do it through sending love. We do it through Reiki. We do it through other work that I do, the Simply Align work, the kinesiology work that I do.
mm.
And so just transferring all of that to that energy that we bring in transformational breath allowed it all to pivot. And suddenly Mary's Blue Door felt like this very colloquial thing because I started reaching people all over the country because I have friends all over the country. I have friends all over the world. And with COVID, everybody was seeking that community. And so we started connecting with people online because I needed people to practice on. And
Mm.
so I started connecting with the people that I knew that lived far away. And suddenly it was like, well, Mary's Blue Door, the vision for that wasn't big enough to contain where I saw things going and saw
Okay.
these new possibilities for what it is that I do.
That's fantastic. And I think, from my personal experience, the idea of breath work for me, 3 years ago is like, no, that's weird. That's too woo for me. I'm from a corporate world, and everybody that's in corporate world is button downs and ties, and we just don't do that stuff. I'm sorry, but I got to tell you, when I finally, you'd asked me probably 10 times to come take one of your little demonstration sessions. And finally I did it. I went out to the parking lot down in New Willamar. Sun was going down. It was a beautiful afternoon. And we all sat down as a group, and wow, I was just absolutely amazed. And I did it twice, and both times was completely different experience. But the aspect of tuning in and really connecting with my inner self and de-stressing,
Mm-hmm.
it was like nothing else I'd ever tried. And at that time I hadn't really been doing much meditation yet, but it's very powerful what you're doing to help people de-stress. And corporate people need de-stressing. I'm sorry.
We
I needed
we
it
do.
so bad. And it was part of a huge part of what kind of made I had some health issues on it. And stress was a huge driver for that.
Yeah, it's a
So,
huge driver for us all in our health issues. Stress is an underlying cause of so many ailments out there, so many issues in our relationships.
mhm.
And we think the breath, doing breath work, we think it's woo-woo, right? That's kind of the immediate connotation if you've never heard of
I
it
did.
before.
I
Yeah.
did. I was
And
in
it's
that camp.
yeah, and it's common. And yet, our breath, it's the very first thing we'll do when we come into this world. It's the very last thing we'll do before we leave this world. It's the one thing we cannot live without. It is the life force. And somehow we don't think of the power that there is in that breath and that power that we can harness. It is overlooked. Think of the word to breathe, right? Respiration,
Mm.
which is re-spiritization. It is connecting with spirit, be that, Holy Spirit, whatever it is that you have faith in, but also your own spirit, connecting with yourself, re-spiritization.
Mm.
That's what every breath can do. And so our breath is the biggest connector that we have. It connects us to our body. It connects us to our heart. It connects us to what we have faith in. It connects us to the earth. It connects us to each other. It's the one thing, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what your faith is. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, who you sleep, who you go to bed with. We all need to breathe. And we're all breathing the exact same air. And we're breathing in each other's air. And it has such healing power. And so this is my message. This is my mission, is to share this with as many people as possible. And for some of the listeners, they're just going to maybe go, well, maybe I'll just start taking a deeper breath. Maybe I'll wake up in the morning and just take 3 deep breaths. Some of you are going to go, oh my gosh, I need whatever it is that she's talking about. I need to get de-stressed. I was exactly where Jim was, or some people are just going to be curious.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
and I just want you to take a moment and to give some thought to your breath and the power that you have with every single breath to reconnect with your spirit.
Powerful. Mary, how did now you are specialized in helping people with stress, and you also specialize in helping people with crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about how you got involved with that. What inspired you to want to move that direction? And what do you see as being, how do you lead the field there?
Back in 2012, 2013, I had everything the world told me I should have. I had a great husband. I had 2 great kids, no health issues, no money issues. So literally, what the F was wrong with me? Why was I feeling so unfulfilled? I felt like I was going through the motions of life. I did not feel like I could complain to anybody about my life, because what could I possibly have to complain about? All I knew is that inside I was dying a very slow, miserable death, and kind of asking myself, like, is this it? Is this as good as it gets? Because I have everything the world tells me I should have, and I'm still miserable. Now, it didn't look like I was miserable to everybody else, but inside, and I was hiding it. And I was out walking with my dogs one morning, and I ran into a neighbor, and she was asking me how I was, and she was a kind of neighbor and friend that I actually could open up to. And I just said it to her. It was a freezing cold morning, and I told her how I was feeling, and she looked at me and she said, "Mary, it sounds to me like you're spiritually disconnected." And I looked at her and I was like, "I'm what now?"
That's
What now? How did you get that?
What?
And I'm like, I go to church on Sundays. I do my prayers with my kids. I do grace before meals. What does she mean I'm spiritually disconnected? But those words had a truth to them. And so they stuck with me, and I began to examine my prayer life and my faith life. And I was like, I'm really pretty rote. I'm showing up. Sure, I'm showing up. But am I feeling it? Not really. And so the universe started to open doors then. And I found a lady who did Reiki, and that was amazing. Started learning about that. I discovered essential oils. I discovered all sorts of other energy work. And then I saw a flyer for this transformational breath class that promised peace and joy. And it was $25. And I was all over that. I was like, $25, I am in. Peace and joy, I am all in.
Some of that.
I'm all in. And I had an awakening experience. That's all I can call it, a life-changing experience in that 90 minutes. And I discovered what I would describe as, the love of God, the love of the angels, just this unconditional love that maybe before I might have believed was possible, but I'd never experienced it in this way. And I just felt so much love, so much support, and then so much sorrow for all of the love that I had pushed away in my life, because I didn't feel worthy of it, or all the other programming, all the other stuff. And in that moment, just that realization that unconditional love was available for me. And I really began to, I just connected in a completely different way with, what I would describe as God, the angels. And that just blew me wide open and on this path. And the further I went down this path, the more I fell in love with it. And I was the groupie. I showed up to all the things, all the sessions. I didn't just go to 2. I went to all of them. I went to the weekends. I went to the day programs. I went to the week-long programs. Suddenly I was in training to become a facilitator going, how did I end up here? But I just trusted it because I loved it so much. And it wasn't an easy path for me, because I came from a very academic work. I worked, my previous work experience had been in the corporate work. I was very black and white. Give me, I'm a scientist, give me, yes or a no.
So you relate to my story too on that.
Yeah. I mean, intuition, what's that?
Yeah. What's that?
What's that? I'm on my intellect. Tell me if I'm doing it right, And so it was a whole thing. I had to learn a completely, not even a new skill set. I had to learn a new skill set, obviously, doing the facilitation, but also learn to trust myself and develop this whole other aspect of myself. And so it was quite the journey. And as I fell more and more in love with it, I realized, if this can work for me, because it wasn't just about the experiences I was having, which some of them were amazing, but Jim, being the pragmatic scientist that I was very results orientated. And I started to notice that I was a better parent. I was able to listen to my children. I was able to hear my children. I was able to hear them when they, quote unquote, back answered me like, Mom, I don't think that was fair, or Mom, I don't think, I was actually able to hear them and go, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe I did kind of fly off the handle. Maybe I did just arbitrarily throw out the first consequence that popped into my brain. You know, let us revisit that. I became a more present wife. It was easier for me to have tough conversations with my husband. And some of those conversations were difficult because there were some things that I really probably should have told him 10 or 15 years ago. And I kept it to myself because I was too scared to rock the boat or whatever it was. And then to have those conversations, knowing that they mightn't be received very well. And with a follow-up of like, you know, and I'm telling you this, and I felt this way for 15 years, you know, these were hard conversations for my husband to hear.
Mm.
And to be able to have them and understand that and give him space to process that without judgment. And then to see how those conversations were able to get resolved. And it just opened up like this isn't just about an experience on a map. This is showing up for me in my life. My life is getting transformed. And it was like, I was still myself, but it was like a softer, kinder version of myself. That's the best way. And my edges were softened. My edges were softened.
Okay.
If
So
that
help
makes
me
sense.
understand. I mean, all that sounds amazing. And a lot of those benefits you just mentioned, I think many people would be thrilled to experience. And I'm challenged by the thought that you're getting those kind of results with something called breath work.
Yeah.
How does help me understand that?
So the breath work, the transformational breath that heals us on 4 levels: physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So physically, it helps us just take a deeper breath using our diaphragm, really getting us to use our diaphragm to trigger the relaxation response, the parasympathetic nervous system, all of that good stuff, and gives us all those wonderful physical benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us are only using 20 to 30% of our respiratory capacity. And the reason we're doing that is because we learn when we're little kids, and I want your listeners to listen to this and to think back to when you were a little kid. When we felt uncomfortable emotions, we learned if we hold our breath, it stops the flow of that uncomfortable emotion so that we can stay in control, so that we can stay in charge. So think maybe on the playground, someone's, you know, picking on you or teasing you, but you don't want to be the crybaby. So you hold back those tears, you suck it in, bite your tongue, all of those things so that you don't lose it in front of everybody and embarrass yourself. That's just a scenario that, you know, a personal experience of mine. But we all have had them. We all learn from when we're little kids to hold our breath. And so there's 2 big things that happen every time we hold our breath. So everyone just hold your breath. Imagine somebody just like jumped out at you and gave you a fright. Like for me, it's my jaw. That's where I tighten up, and I tighten up all around my rib cage and my abdomen. That's my hot spots. Other people, it's going to be like in the chest, and they're going to hunch the shoulders. So we all develop these patterns where we're holding our breath, and we do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And what happens if we contract a muscle over and over and over and never stretch it? Gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And as it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, it loses its flexibility. And so we're doing that with our breathing muscles. And so over time, we're losing flexibility. So our rib cage can't expand to what it once could, or its full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that impacts the amount of space our lungs can inflate to as well.
Okay.
And so in transformational breath, we start to resolve that on one level. The second thing that happens when we're stuffing those feelings, when we're stopping those feelings in their tracks by holding our breath, is that unless we go back and revisit that feeling, it finds a home somewhere in our body. Like most of us can identify that we hold stress. Most of us would say we hold our stress in our neck or our shoulders, the primary. But guess what? We hold on to every single emotion that we don't process. So that's the embarrassment that you felt on the playground and at school. And most of us don't revisit it. Most of us don't go home and relive that encounter and tell everyone about it because we're embarrassed. Or every shameful thing we do, or everything we're guilty about, or every moment of loneliness, of depression, anger, resentment. A lot of those emotions get repressed. And so they find a home in our body.
Okay.
They might hang out in our hips, our ribs, our shoulders, our abdomen, our back, and they show up as dis-ease in the body. We all know this. So, study Louise Hay, dis-ease. And so
Right.
the emotional things that are, if we have a lot of, let's say a lot of neuropathy, often that's, that's a freeze response, right? You can't move something, right? Because of neuropathy, right? And so a fear response can cause us to freeze, literally frozen, deer in the headlights. So maybe there's some unresolved fear. If we have lymph issues, if our lymph isn't moving, well, what emotions are we not letting move in our body? Maybe we need to cry and we're holding back tears. Like, what's not moving in our body? If you have a lot of constipation, what are you holding on? Literally, you're holding on to your shit. So what are we holding on to? What are we not letting go of? And so they're just kind of the big ticket examples, but we all do it. And so with the breath work, we breathe in a very specific way that activates these old energies that we have in our body, and we create the environment and the support, and we're using all sorts of different tools to help support the release of any of those emotions that are ready to heal today. And it's not reliving the emotion, because if you think back to that embarrassment when you're on the playground, if you were to experience that as your 5-year-old version of yourself, you might be hanging out, crying, bawling in your mom's eyes for 20-30 minutes. But in a breath session, we get to maybe move through some of those experiences in literally 1 to 2 minutes. Occasionally it'll take a little longer, but there is the support available to you. And there is the container created to help you feel as safe as possible, as safe as you possibly can. And there is an implicit trust in the divine intelligence of your own breath and the healing power of it, so that you will move through whatever comes up easily and effortlessly, and you'll just feel amazing afterwards. And when we're letting go of those old traumas and dramas, they can start to change our beliefs around things, because we all have beliefs, but just because we believe something doesn't mean it's true. Like, I had a client the other day, and she shared that as she grew up, she heard one of the resounding themes of her childhood was, you got yourself into that mess, you need to get yourself out of that mess. And what she understood from that is, I can't ask for help. I am not supported. And so she lived a lot of her adult life not asking for help, until she reached a point where her health, her life, everything just fell apart, and she had no choice but to ask support. And then she realized that was a belief I had that wasn't true.
Right.
And so we all have them.
And she discovered that during her breath work?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these aha moments, because that's the emotional healing part of it, and the mental healing of it, where we can let go of some of that mental clutter, that programming, those limiting beliefs that aren't working for us. And then there's the spiritual healing, because as we let go of all of this stuff, it's kind of like if you have a really big cry, afterwards you feel lighter. It's like, oh, that feels good. Or you have a lot of pressure on you and suddenly it's gone, right? Oh my gosh, I can breathe now. Wow, that happens in a session too. As we let go of some of our stuff, we actually are raising our vibration. We're raising our energy in our body, and it's much easier for us to connect with peace, joy, contentment, and also whatever it is that you have faith in. And it's easier for us to connect with ourselves, our souls, because we can see it more clearly. We're not as weighed down with whatever it was that was holding us back in that moment. It's fascinating. And I mean, 10 years later, I'm still amazed at the experiences people have. It just blows me away.
Fascinating. Can you share any stories of challenge that you've experienced and gone through, that you've had to overcome during your journey with this?
You mean in business or personally, or either?
Well, either. Yeah. It's like, I mean, obviously you're a mom,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have your business, and you're doing an amazing job of kind of bringing this idea of breath work into the community. But you're doing it now not only here in locally, but all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So there's got to be some challenges with that you're facing. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm interested in is, it's like now that we've discovered breath, and now that you've explained the mechanism, I'm curious to know what challenges you're facing now to take that message out into the world.
Yeah, and there's definitely been a big learning curve for me on the business side of things and
Okay.
the advertising side of things. And so having, for me, a huge trust in the hand that spirit, God, the universe is playing in this work, having to let go of my own ego, because I've spent a lot of time thinking up great ideas, thinking up great programs, spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money creating them, and them going nowhere.
Hmm.
And realizing that there's aspects of my business that are thriving, that are doing really, really well,
Mm-hmm.
and that those are the ones that are being divinely guided, because I need to be there. Those are the aspects of my business. And so this year, one of my biggest commitment to myself and to my business this year is to really feel into, where does God, where does spirit, where does the universe want me to go? Where does the universe, God, spirit need me to put my energy?
Mm.
And trusting and looking for those signs. And that's why at the opening of this, I said that there's a lot of things that will be coming into fruition. They're not even in the pipeline yet, because they're not. There's just so many things that I can tell. It's kind of like the seeds in the soil, right? You know that they're germinating right now, and they're getting all this wonderful water, and they're getting the sunshine, they're getting all the things they need. But we're not going to see those blooms for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understanding and trusting that that is happening with me and with my business, because I've learned over the years that when I follow the guidance, divine guidance, it just works out so easily and so smoothly. And when I follow my own brain and my ideas, not that my ideas are bad, but when I follow that, it's a lot rockier. And it has been exhausting for me, because I have that A type. My default programming is A type, stay busy. It's really hard for me to let it just percolate. That's been a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding, really not just understanding, but really embodying the idea of there is progress in the pause. And this process really started for me, I would say last fall, was when I really felt connected to that autumn, that fall energy of slowing down. And then that winter hibernation. And it doesn't mean we're not doing what needs to be done, but understanding that there's a cyclical nature, and I don't need to be busting out new ideas and new programs and new specials and new years and holiday specials and this, that the business model for the breath of new life is on a different plan. So that's a challenge for my brain. It really is. And sometimes I have to have conversations and go like, God, you got me into this. Help me out, please, please, please. give me a sign. Give me a little love. Give me a little something today. And you know what? I always get when I ask for the support, when I ask for the validation, when I ask for the, whatever it is that I need to help me stay the course, I always get it. I always get it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm learning that as well. My career in corporate life was very, task oriented and type A driver, making things happen. Very stressful. And I got some really great success, but
Mm-hmm.
I wonder now in hindsight, if I was able to take the tools that I've learned in the last 3 years and go back now and redo what I did, and with this idea that you just mentioned in taking time to meditate, taking time to listen to source and be in the flow more and not be so stressed out, would the results be better?
Yeah, we can never know because the energies on the planet are completely different now, completely different than they were 10 years ago. Like even for you, 3 years ago, you'd have laughed at breath work, and now you're interviewing a breath work as a leader in the in the community.
Right. Yeah. It's like, but 3 years ago, it's like breath work. What's that? It's like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's novel. But
Yeah.
I think now you've definitely blossomed.
Yeah, so everything is shifting. We're shifting. The energies on the earth are shifting. We can look at all the changes that have happened socially over the last 10 years. Well, if we go back 20 years, look at all the things that have changed digitally. Things have changed so much on this planet. So what worked before worked before.
Mm,
It just
okay.
doesn't work now. It's
So
sort of like when
the
you're
answer
in,
there is don't worry about it.
don't worry about it. It's
Forget
like when
about it.
when you're in kindergarten, you focus on your colors and your letters and your practice, right? And that's what you do when you're in kindergarten. And then
Yeah.
when you're in 6th grade, you don't need to practice your letters. You already have that down. So we did what we did when it was the time to do it. And now the times have changed, the energy has changed, the world has changed, and we're just changing and evolving and adapting with us.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience? Any events coming up? Any books in the works? Anything you're
So,
working on?
so a book, I don't know if the book will happen this year, but there is some ideas percolating. So
Okay.
they will
Okay.
come when they come. We do have weekly events in person in Wildemar. We're no longer in the parking lot now that we're post-COVID. We are back in the studio.
Okay.
We do weekly events there, and we are actually doing a half-day retreat, which is going to be on a Wednesday evening, March 15th. And I'm
Okay.
partnering up with a couple of other facilitators from Sage Sanctuary. We will be doing yoga, meditation, journaling, Reiki, breath work, and sound bath. It's just going to be a beautiful event to reset and receive as we start to harmonize with the spring energies, because the spring is coming. It'll be a different energy. So that's the big event that I have coming up. Other than that, you can find me once a month at the Temecula Yoga Collective on the 3rd Saturday of the month. So that next one is, well, I don't know when you're posting this interview, but 3rd Saturday of the month, I'm at the
It'll be up for a
Temecula Yoga
while.
Collective. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, they're my big events. And just stay posted. Check out my website at thebreathofnewlife.com. I am on
Here,
Facebook.
let me share that real quick.
Okay. I'm on Facebook as well, The Breath of New Life. And you can find me on Instagram at Breath of New Life. There's no the in that one because I messed up. So that's my old website. I can't even believe that they didn't redirect you. That I'll have to talk to my web guy because Mary's Blue Door is gone.
Well, maybe I looked up what's the new URL?
Thebreathofnewlife.com. So that should automatically have redirected you actually. Thebreathofnewlife.com.
Let's see where that goes.
There we go.
Ah, okay. Can you see that? Obviously you
Yes.
can. So,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So
you have my next events are there. So anyone can find out what's going on. You can also reach me at mary@thebreathofnewlife.com, and I will be happy to email and answer any questions.
okay, I'll put all that in the show notes. So
Yeah.
excellent.
And so, yeah, they can connect. There's one of the pages on the website there is contact and connect with me. So feel free to reach out and I will be delighted to get back to you.
Okay, very good. Well, gosh, thank you for your time today. It went really quickly and it was fun. Fun for me.
Fun for me. Thanks for having me. It was wonderful to chat with you.
Yeah, you as well. So we'll we'll get back in touch again and maybe get you back on the show at a later time and get an update.
Okay, that would be terrific.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you. And thanks for listening, everybody, and for viewing. It was wonderful.